सह्याद्री वाहिनी, प्रत्येक घरासाठी, घरातल्या प्रत्येकासाठी.
Hello students, myself Dhananjay Kulkarni, teacher in physics at Ferguson College. I am discussing with you chapter number 13, AC circuits. In previous session, we started with the types of AC circuits, in which first type, that is purely resistive circuit, we have completed. And in this session, now we are going to continue with the same topic, in which we are going to start with application of AC to purely inductive circuit. So for that, we will switch over to PowerPoint presentation. So our topic is inductive AC circuit, that is AC voltage applied to a pure inductor. What is inductor? Inductor is basically coil, and it stores the magnetic field when current is passed through it. Here is the animation which shows that the coil, ends of the coil are connected to the battery. This is the DC which is connected across the coil, terminals of the coil, and moving in anti-clockwise direction. Direction of the conventional current is clockwise. And when the current flows through the coil, that time magnetic field is produced in the surrounding region, and which is shown with the help of the green lines. So this is about when the DC is applied to inductor. There is another animation in which we can see the AC is passed through the inductor. Here source is not shown, but the alternating current, it increases in magnitude. When the current increases in magnitude, magnetic field also increases. When the current decreases, the magnetic field decreases. When current flows in the opposite direction, magnetic field produced in the coil will also be in the opposite direction. And again, when the current decreases, the magnetic field also decreases. So that's why the magnetic field will vary in magnitude and direction when AC is applied to pure inductor. And here you can see in the second animation how is the current varying with respect to time. So when the magnetic field is withdrawn, current keeps on increasing, and when the magnetic field decreases, current also decreases, which you can see in the animation. So here is an inductor, and we are considering pure inductor. What is pure inductor? Pure inductor is a coil which has zero resistance. So ideally it has zero resistance, practically it has very small resistance. And the source of alternating EMF is connected across the inductor. In one half cycle of AC, current will flow in one direction. In next half cycle of AC, current will flow in the opposite direction when key is closed. Current I begins to grow in the inductor, which changes the magnetic flux link with it. So when the current will increase, the magnetic flux link with the coil will also increase, and that is how there is always change in the magnetic flux associated with the coil, which produces an EMF in the coil. So current due to the supply EMF, we'll call it as a main current, and current which is produced due to electromagnetic induction will be always opposite to the main current. So induced current and main current from the source, they will be in the opposite direction. Now induced EMF is produced according to the Faraday's law, which opposes the applied EMF. Alternating EMF supplied is represented by the equation, standard equation we know, E is equal to E naught sin omega t, where E naught is the peak value and omega is the phase. Now according to Lenz's law, the induced EMF will always oppose the applied EMF. Now we know that flux link with the coil is given by the formula phi is equal to L into I, where L is self-inductance of the coil, and the induced EMF in the coil is given by the formula according to Faraday's second law of electromagnetic induction, E dash is minus d phi by dt. So E is the applied EMF and E dash is induced EMF in a coil, and that is given by the formula E dash induced EMF is minus L into di by dt. Now, to maintain the flow of the current in the circuit, the applied EMF must be equal and opposite to the induced EMF. According to Kirchhoff's voltage law, the applied EMF will be having the same magnitude as that of the induced EMF, but they are in opposite direction, and that's why there is a negative sign. We can write like this also, E applied EMF plus induced EMF E dash, this total is equal to 0. So that's why E is equal to minus E dash. E is equal to minus, what is value of E dash? E dash is equal to minus L into di by dt. Let us substitute that. So we get E is equal to minus into minus L di by dt. Minus minus will become plus, and you will get E is equal to L into di by dt. So from this you get di is equal to E upon L into dt. Now integrating both sides, we get integration of di is equal to integration of E by L, and integration is with respect to t. So we get I, integration of di is I, is equal to, now E we are replacing by E naught sin omega t. So in the integration we get integration E naught into sin omega t and divided by L, as it is, integration is with respect to t. So I is equal to, but here E naught and L, these are constant, they do not depend upon time, and constant can be removed outside the integration. So we get I is equal to E naught upon L, and integration of sin omega t is minus cos omega t, and integration of omega t is 1 upon omega, and plus constant of integration. Now here you might have noticed that first time we have introduced the constant of integration. Constant of integration is always introduced when no limits of integration are introduced in the expression. If you have lower limit and upper limit of integration, you don't need the constant of integration. But when the limits are not written, you have to add the constant of integration. Now if you look at the expression is I is equal to, and there are two terms on the right side. So obviously first term will also represent the current, even second term will also represent the current. Another aspect is I is instantaneous current, and this instantaneous current varies with respect to time. If you look at the first term on the right side, there is a term omega t. So even first term also represent the current, and which is time varying. So that's why this term will also represent the instantaneous current. And next term is constant. Constant means it should not vary with the time. Now how is it possible that the second quantity will not be time varying and it will be constant? It is not possible, and that's why the constant of integration in this case has to be 0. So we get I is equal to E naught, omega we are taking out here, so we get E naught upon omega L minus sine is here, and cos of omega t is sine of pi by 2 minus omega t. So we get expression for the current as minus E naught upon omega L sine of pi by 2 minus omega t. So current is equal to, now here sine of omega t minus pi by 2, that is equal to cos omega t. And if I treat this as negative, minus cos omega t, terms in the bracket I will have to reverse. So minus into sine of pi by 2 minus omega t will be plus, if I interchange the terms, so plus sine of omega t minus pi by 2. Now E naught is the peak value of the EMF, that is voltage, upon this value omega L. This will definitely represent the peak value of the current, because what is general expression for the EMF is E naught sin omega t. For current also it is having the same form. So the term in the bracket will represent
the term E naught upon omega L must represent the peak value of the current, and that's why I naught is equal to E naught upon omega L. Here another aspect, how this E naught upon omega L will represent the peak value of the current. Simple thing, the current I will be maximum when sine function will have maximum value. What is maximum value of sine function? 1. And that's why here if this value is equal to 1, then the maximum value of current will be logically E naught upon omega L. So that's why E naught upon omega L, it represents the peak, that is maximum value of the current. Graphically, let us see variation of EMF and current with respect to phase. We have two equations. For the EMF, E is equal to E naught sin omega t. For current, I is equal to I naught sin omega t minus pi by 2. Now, let us understand this graphical variation. Suppose initially I am taking omega t as 0, that is the origin over here. Then in that case, sin 0 is 0, EMF is 0. Next, when omega t is equal to pi by 2, sin pi by 2 is plus 1 into E naught plus E naught. So for phase pi by 2, we have the peak value of the EMF, that is plus E naught. Next, phase is equal to pi. That time sin of pi is 0, so EMF will be 0. Next is 3 pi by 2, sin 3 pi by 2 is minus 1 into E naught minus E naught, and that is the peak value of the EMF, that is minus E naught. It is the peak value but in the opposite direction. And when it is omega t is 2 pi, then the EMF is equal to 0. For current, our expression is I is equal to I naught sin omega t minus pi by 2. Another thing we have noticed that sin of pi by 2 minus omega t, this term is equal to cos of omega t. So I can say that I get simplified expression for the current, that I is equal to minus I naught into cos of omega t. Now I will take initially omega t as 0. Then what will be value of current? I is equal to minus I naught. Cos 0 is plus 1, so minus I naught. So here when the phase is 0, current is maximum, that is minus I naught. Next value of omega t is pi by 2. Cos pi by 2 is 0, so current is equal to 0. Then next is pi. Cos pi is minus 1. Minus 1 into I naught minus I naught is plus I naught, that is over here. Next value is 3 pi by 2. Cos of 3 pi by 2 is 0, so that's why current will be 0. Then cos of 2 pi, it is plus 1 into I naught, it is minus I naught. So here is the variation of the current with respect to phase. If you compare the phase relation of EMF with respect to phase and phase relation of current with respect to phase, then we can see that when the EMF reaches say peak value plus E naught, that time phase is pi by 2. And when current reaches its peak value plus I naught on the same side, the phase is pi. What is the phase difference? Pi minus pi by 2, that is pi by 2. So there is a phase difference of pi by 2 between instantaneous EMF and instantaneous current. One more thing you might have noticed, that EMF reaches peak value earlier than the current. Earlier means what is the phase difference? Pi by 2. So I can say that EMF reaches peak value quarter period earlier than the current. So EMF reaches the peak value when the phase is pi by 2, current reaches peak value when the phase is pi. So EMF reaches peak value earlier than the current, and the phase difference between them is pi by 2. So alternating current I lags behind the alternating EMF E by phase angle of pi by 2 radians. So mathematically also you can see, graphically also you can see. Now phasor diagram will draw for purely inductive circuit. Now initial our equation is, base equation is E is equal to E naught sin omega t. So here is the x-axis and I am representing EMF with the phasor. Peak value of the EMF is represented by length of this vector. Expression for the EMF is E is equal to E naught sine omega t. So phase is omega t, that we have shown here with respect to x-axis and in anti-clockwise direction. Next, the phase that represents the current is shown over here. The length of the vector represents the peak value of the current, that is equal to I naught. Now, if I take projection of this phasor for the current on y-axis, it will give me the expression for the instantaneous current, and that is equal to I naught sine omega t minus pi by 2. If I take projection of EMF vector phasor on y-axis, then in that case expression for the instantaneous EMF is equal to E naught sine omega t. Now for EMF phase is omega t, and for current the phase, if you remember earlier expression, is omega t minus pi by 2. And what does a negative sign indicate? That the current is lagging behind the EMF in phase by pi by 2 radians, lagging behind by negative sign, leading by positive sign. And what is the phase difference? Pi by 2. So we can, and here if you see carefully, the angle between the EMF and the current is 90 degree, and lagging behind we always show in the downward direction. And that's why the angle made by current with respect to EMF is 90 degree in downward direction, and that is represented by lagging behind the phase by pi by 2 radians, that is 90 degree. So the phasor representing peak value of I naught is turned clockwise with the direction of E naught as the current lag behind the voltage by pi by 2 radians. Now there is a concept of inductive reactance. Reactance is represented by symbol X and it is offered by inductor, so L represents its self-inductance. So that's why the symbol is XL. The opposing ability of inductor to the flow of alternating current, it is called as the inductive reactance. Now we know the expression that peak value of the current is E naught upon omega L. Comparing this with the Ohm's law, naturally omega L, it will represent the resistance offered by inductor to the flow of alternating current through it. Now resistance we always represented by capital R, and here reactance is represented by X. Why is the word reactance used? Reactance is a resistance offered by the component to alternating current. So whenever there is a DC, we use the word resistance. Whenever there is a AC, we use the word reactance, and reactance is represented by capital X. It is offered by inductor, so we write subscript as L. So XL is resistance offered by inductor to the flow of alternating current flowing through it, called as inductive reactance. Now, from this expression, we can say omega L is E naught upon I naught. E naught is the peak value of the voltage, I naught is peak value of the current. Voltage upon current is resistance, but here we use the word reactance. So inductive reactance will be E naught upon I naught. Now that is equal to omega L, and omega is equal to 2 pi f, where f is the frequency of alternating current. So XL is equal to 2 pi f into L. Now graphically we will show variation of inductive reactance with the frequency. Inductive reactance on y-axis, frequency on x-axis. Here we can see that XL is directly proportional to f. As f increases, inductive reactance increases linearly. So there is direct relation between inductive reactance and frequency, as well as with the self-inductance of the coil. So if frequency is high, inductive reactance is high. If the frequency is high, inductive reactance is high. If self-inductance is high, inductive reactance is also high. Function of inductive reactance is similar to resistance in purely resistive circuit. Now SI unit of inductive reactance is ohm, same like resistance, because function is the same. Now in DC circuit, frequency is 0. So that's why inductive reactance 2 pi FL, that is equal to 0. XL is equal to 0 implies pure inductor offers 0 resistance to DC. That is, it cannot reduce the direct current. It passes DC and blocks AC of high frequency. In inductive circuit, self-induced EMF opposes the growth as well as decay of the current. So this was about application of AC to pure inductor. Next topic is application of AC to pure capacitor. What is capacitor? Capacitor is a device which stores the charge, and the energy, potential energy, is stored in the electric field in the capacitor. In electrostatics chapter, you have learned in detail what is the capacitor. Basic, to revise with the basic structure, there are two plates and the gap between the two plates is either filled with dielectric medium or the air. So this is the simplest way to show the construction of the capacitor. Capacitance of a capacitor is the ability of the capacitor to store an electric charge and is given by the formula C is equal to AK epsilon naught upon D, where A is the area of the plates. Both the plates should have equal area. K is the dielectric constant of the medium. E naught is the permittivity of the air, if it is, and D is the spacing between the two plates. If it is air capacitor, then K is equal to 1. So capacity is given by the formula C is A epsilon naught upon D. Electrostatic potential energy stored in the capacitor is given by the formula E is equal to half CV square, where V is the potential difference between the two plates of the capacitor and C is the capacitance of the capacitor. This energy is also equal to half Q into V, where Q is charge on each plate of the capacitor, or is also given by the formula half Q square upon C. In the chapter electrostatics, you have learned all this in detail, and this energy is stored in the electric field between the two plates. Now if DC is applied to the capacitor, what will happen? Let us consider two plates of the capacitor and DC is applied. One plate will have negative charge, other plate, due to electrostatic induction, will have equal amount of positive charge. So here we can see the DC source is applied across the capacitor. Once you close the key, then current will flow in this direction. Actually, the electrons are flowing in the opposite direction. These electrons which are flowing in this direction will be accumulated on this plate B. Due to electrostatic induction, equal amount of positive charge is generated on plate A, and less bound negative charge, that is the electrons, they come to the positive terminal, and that is how current is established. And the voltage drop between the two plates of the capacitor is given by the formula Q upon C, where Q is charge on each plate and C is the capacitance. Now, this earlier diagram was when the capacitor, there was current flowing through the capacitor, means capacitor was charging. And when the capacitor reaches to its maximum value of the charge, so in other words we can say it is fully charged, then in that case there is no movement of the electron, and that's why the current is equal to 0. So when the capacitor is fully charged, current is 0. Let us discuss what happens when AC is applied to a pure capacitor. So here is the capacitor of capacitance C. The source of alternating EMF having instantaneous value E is connected across the capacitor. Instantaneous value of the EMF applied across the capacitor is given by the formula E is equal to E naught sin omega t. The current flowing in the circuit transfers charge to the plate of the capacitor, which produces potential difference between the plates. So if when the current is flowing in one direction, say clockwise, then this plate will have negative charge, and due to electrostatic induction, this plate will have equal amount of positive charge, and that's why potential difference will be developed between the two plates. So this time capacitor is charging, and when the current flows in the opposite direction, then that time capacitor gets discharged. So as the current reverses its direction, in each half cycle, the capacitor is alternately charged and discharged. So this we can see very clearly that when the current is flowing in one direction, the capacitor is getting charged with one polarity, say right plate will have negative charge, plate will have positive charge. In next half cycle, when the current flows in the opposite direction, that time the capacitor will get discharged. So charging of the capacitor in one half cycle, discharging of the capacitor is in the next half cycle. Let Q be the charge on the capacitor at any given instant t. The potential difference V across the plates of the capacitor is given by the formula V is equal to Q upon C, or we can write Q is equal to C into V. The instantaneous value of the current in the circuit is given by the formula I is equal to dq by dt. This basic definition of the current, you know, current is rate of flow of charge. If dq charge flows in time dt, current is dq upon dt. So that is d by dt of q. But what is q? Q is equal to C into V. So instead of V, there is EMF. So we are replacing V by E. So I is equal to d by dt of C into E. But what is E? E naught sine omega t. So I is equal to d by dt of C into E naught sine omega t. Now C and E naught are constant. That can be removed outside the derivative. So I get C into E naught, and time derivative of sine omega t is cos omega t, and derivative of omega t is into omega. So omega is multiplied here. So we get from this, I'm just rearranging the terms, that omega c I'm taking to the denominator. So it will be 1 upon omega c. So just rearranging the terms, I get I is equal to E naught upon 1 upon omega c into cos of omega t. Now here, when current will be maximum? When cos function will have maximum value, because E naught, omega c all are constant, they do not vary with time. So current will be maximum when cos function will have maximum value, and maximum value of cos function is 1. So when cos omega t is 1, current will be maximum. Maximum current will be represented by I naught. So that's why here in this next expression we have just modified, rearranged the terms. I is equal to E naught divided by 1 upon omega c, and cos omega t is sin omega t plus pi by 2. So the current will be maximum, that is I naught, when sin omega t plus pi by 2 will be 1, and that will be given by I naught is E naught divided by 1 upon omega c. Now concept of capacitive reactance. The instantaneous value of alternating current through the capacitor is given by the formula we have derived, that I is equal to E naught divided by 1 upon omega c into sine of omega t plus pi by 2, and I naught is equal to E naught divided by 1 upon omega c. So I get I is equal to I naught sine omega t plus pi by 2. Now from this expression I can write 1 upon omega c is E naught upon I naught. E naught is the peak value of the EMF, I naught is the peak value of the current, voltage upon current is resistance, but in AC we use word reactance. So it is reactance offered by capacitor, hence it is called capacitive reactance, which is represented by Xc. So I get Xc is 1 upon omega c, omega is 2 pi f, so Xc is 1 upon 2 pi f c.
Students, so in this session we have studied about application of AC to purely inductive circuit as well as application of AC to purely capacitive circuit. Thank you.